I was knee-deep in inventory at the warehouse when my phone buzzed. Andrea's name flashed across the screen. I knew she was working, so I figured it was a quick check-in, maybe about the wedding. We'd been pushing forward with it despite the stress. So, when I opened the message, my stomach dropped. I'm going to spend the next few nights with Tyler. For closure, but the wedding is still on. I love you. My eyes glued to the words, but they didn't make sense. Closure, with Tyler. The guy she swore was long gone. It hit me like a punch in the gut. My brain scrambled, like I was trying to piece together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. I stared at the text over and over, looking for some kind of explanation, but none came. I remembered the way she'd always talked about him, how he was just a chapter in the past, how she'd never go back to someone who treated her like crap. But now, she was spending nights with him. Closure, whatever that meant. I squeezed the phone in my hand, my heartbeat ringing in my ears. I felt my pulse speed up, but I knew better than to fire back in the heat of the moment. So, I just typed, "Do what you need to do." It was cold, distant. I hit send before I could second guess it, but the moment I did, a rush of regret flooded in. Why couldn't I just say something else? Why couldn't I beg her to stay? Then, it hit me. This wasn't a rough patch. It wasn't a fight we'd get over with a few days apart. This was it. This was the end. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt a strange, sharp clarity. I didn't need to chase this. It was over. I took a deep breath, trying to shove down the bitter taste in my mouth. My fingers shook as I slid the phone into my pocket and turned back to the crates of parts I needed to move. There was work to do. I didn't have time for any of this. I spent the next hour buried in my phone, getting through the list of vendors. Venue first. I called them, told them the wedding was off. No details, just extreme change in plans. They didn't ask questions, just gave me a confirmation number for the cancellation. Same for the caterer, the DJ, the florist. Every call was the same, calm, sterile, like I was dealing with customer service for a product return. I kept the conversation short, trying not to let the reality of it hit me too hard. But with each canceled, I felt a little lighter, a little freer. Next was the honeymoon. I called the travel agent. "I need to cancel our Cabo trip," I said. I could hear the woman on the other end shuffle papers. "Is everything okay?" she asked, like she was trying to figure out if I was about to cry. I kept it together. "Just changing plans. Extreme change in plans," I repeated. There was silence on the line for a beat before she confirmed the cancellation and refunded me. I stared at the receipt on my screen, the words non-refundable glaring back at me. I didn't care. I didn't even feel bad about it. I was done. I moved on to the tuxedos next. I called the rental place, explained the situation, and set up a time to return them. "You can come by any time today," the guy said. He sounded disappointed that I wasn't going to take them to the altar. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a response. I just made the appointment and hung up. Then came the wedding party. I started with Mark, one of my groomsmen. He answered on the second ring, "Yo, what's up?" He sounded too relaxed. He didn't know yet. "We're off the hook, man," I said flatly. "Wedding's called off." There was a pause. Then he said, "Shit, dude, that sucks." I could hear the confusion in his voice, but I didn't care enough to explain. "Yeah, it's fine," I said. "No more tuxes, no more rehearsals, just don't worry about it." I ran through the rest of the wedding party. Nick, Eli, the others, same deal. They were confused, some tried to offer support, but I just kept it short. No need to drag this out. I moved to the joint bank account Andrea and I had opened for wedding expenses. I'd been dreading this one, but the fact that we were no longer a we made it easier. I called the bank and closed it. No questions, no drama. The balance was mostly wedding expenses, but there was still some left. I requested a check, and that was that. The thought of having to deal with that account again felt like a weight lifted off my chest. By the time I got to the last thing on the list, I was numb. I texted Noah. "Wedding's off. We'll talk later." I didn't feel like explaining. I needed someone who knew me better than to ask a million questions. He called me back within seconds. "What the hell, man?" His voice was harsh, like he was angry and relieved all at once. I leaned back against the couch, staring at the empty space in front of me, the room silent except for his voice cutting through it. "I'm guessing you don't need me to ask why." "Don't," I muttered. "Just, it's done. It's over." My voice felt empty. like I was just going through the motions of a conversation I didn't want to have. All right, well, Noah's voice softened. I'm gonna kill him when I see him, but right now. I'm glad you're getting out. Let me know when you're ready to get the hell out of there for a bit. I'll grab some beers, we'll watch this fallout from a safe distance. Shit's gonna get ugly. Yeah, I said, the tiniest laugh escaping me. I'm good. I need space to think. The finality of it all was still sinking in. Thanks, man. You sure you want to be alone? He asked, concern lacing his words. I don't know what I want, I answered honestly. I'll be at your place later. I hung up, and for a second, I just sat there. My phone felt heavy in my hand, like it was still full of things I had to deal with. But I didn't care anymore. The worst of it was over. I didn't need anyone's permission to move on anymore. I looked at the time. It was almost 3 o'clock. I could still hear Andrea's voice in my head, even though I hadn't heard it all day. I knew she'd be waiting for me to reach out, to beg her to change her mind, to fix it all. But I wasn't going to. I didn't have to. I dropped my phone on the table and grabbed my jacket. Time to get out of here. By the time I got to Noah's apartment, the reality of what I'd just done was starting to sink in, but I didn't have time to process it. Noah and Chelsea were already set up. Noah had a 6-pack on the counter and a pile of popcorn bowls stacked up like we were preparing for a movie marathon. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life, and I couldn't look away. We'd blocked Andrea, her parents, and the entire wedding party on social media. I wasn't about to watch their posts, watch her put on a fake show while she worked her closure nonsense. But we kept the maid of honor's account. She was deep in it, right next to Andrea in every photo. She'd be the one to leak the truth when it all came down. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this, Noah muttered, pulling a beer from the fridge and cracking it open. This is insane, man. I know, but we need to see it unfold. Need to know if she's already spinning it, making me the bad guy. I sank into the couch, the weight of what had happened still hitting me in waves. I needed to watch it. I needed to make sure the truth came out, my version of it anyway. Chelsea, sitting next to me, leaned forward and grabbed her phone. You're right. It's only a matter of time before she starts posting about it, trying to twist it into some story that doesn't make her look like the villain. The three of us sat there for a while, scrolling, checking her posts, watching the quiet before the storm. It was still early, around 8:30, but we knew it wouldn't be long before Andrea's circle started losing it. The tension in the room was thick. I couldn't decide if it felt like waiting for an earthquake to hit or for a bomb to explode. And then, around 9:15, it happened. The email from the venue landed in Andrea's inbox, and it felt like I could feel the ground tremble, even though I was miles away. We all sat up at the same time, staring at our phones, waiting for her to react. Then it came, a text to the maid of honor. It was a quick screenshot, and I saw Andrea's name at the top, her response typed in all caps. What the hell is this? She didn't get it. Not yet. I could almost hear her voice crack through the screen. The venue's cancellation notice had set the wheels in motion. Chelsea gasped, her hand slapping her mouth to stifle the noise. Noah was grinning like he'd just hit a jackpot. I didn't feel joy, though. It was cold, detached. But something about it, something about seeing it all fall apart, settled something in me. Here we go, Noah muttered under his breath. Andrea posted a story next, herself in a sash and tiara, smiling wide like nothing was wrong. She was at her bachelorette dinner, surrounded by her friends, acting like everything was normal. She wasn't showing any signs of stress, didn't seem worried. But in the background of one of the photos, I saw the maid of honor's phone screen. Something flickered across it that looked like an email notification. And I knew, right then, that the chaos had started. You gotta be kidding me, Chelsea said, her voice trembling as she watched the comments on Andrea's post pile up. This is insane. The maid of honor posted a photo of the group just after Andrea's story, and sure enough, there it was, the first sign of the meltdown. Andrea's face wasn't as smiley anymore. I could see it in her eyes. She was trying to hold it together, but it was unraveling fast. The group chat notifications started blowing up in the background, and I knew things were about to explode. I felt this strange mix of relief and discomfort in my chest. I wasn't the one making the mess, but I wasn't exactly innocent either. We're just watching her world burn, huh? I said, half to myself. Yup, Noah replied, popping another beer. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash. We can't look away, but we're not the ones causing it. The popcorn was ready. We all grabbed some and sat back, like we were in the front row of a train wreck, waiting for the inevitable. I felt sick, but at the same time, it was almost a relief to see the truth finally start to slip through the cracks. It wasn't going to be pretty. I knew that, but watching it all spill out, knowing there was no going back, it was freeing in a weird way. By the time her next post went up, it was too late to stop it. The venue had canceled, but Andrea wasn't ready to let go of the closure story yet. She posted a long message about how she and I were working through things, how sometimes relationships needed space to heal, and that the wedding was just temporarily postponed. It was all her usual spin, pretending everything was still fine. But I saw it. The cracks were already there. People in her circle started to notice too. Noah clicked his tongue. "She's still trying to paint you as the bad guy, huh?" "Of course," I muttered, staring at my phone screen. "But I don't care anymore." The room went quiet for a moment, the weight of it all pressing down. I wasn't angry anymore, not like I thought I'd be, just numb. I was watching her mess unfold, but I wasn't a part of it. I glanced at Noah and Chelsea. "You think she'll post the email?" The cancellation notice. "Probably," Chelsea said, her eyes glued to the screen. "She'll have to. Everyone's going to start asking questions." It wasn't long after that, the first of the group chats went public, screenshots flooding Instagram. People were starting to figure it out. Her friends, her family, all of them now seeing the cracks, the lies, the mess I'd been living in for months. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew this was just the beginning. I couldn't sleep. Even though everything was unraveling, my brain wouldn't stop buzzing. It was after midnight when my phone rang, and I nearly jumped out of my skin when I saw the name. Camille, Andrea's mom. I'd been waiting for it. I ignored it the first time. Let it go to voicemail. Then the phone lit up again. Another call from her, then another, and another. Finally, I picked up the fifth one, just to get it over with. "Are you out of your mind?" Camille's voice was like a sharp needle in my ear, cutting through the quiet of the room. "You're ruining my daughter's life, you piece of shit." I could barely even process her words. My stomach twisted, but I stayed calm. "Camille, I don't need to do this with you." No, you're going to listen," she snapped. "You've completely destroyed everything. Everything. She was set to marry you, and you've sabotaged it for what? A petty, childish tantrum. Do you know how this looks? You're mentally unstable, and you've ruined my daughter's future. I won't let you get away with this." Her words were loaded with venom, but there was something almost comical about them. Her daughter, the one who'd been stringing me along with her closure nonsense, was apparently the innocent victim here. It was hard to believe Camille even believed the things she was saying. "I'm not going to fix it, Camille," I said, my voice a little louder than it should have been. "It's done." There was a long, tense silence before she barked. "I'll be calling everyone you know. I'll make sure they know exactly what kind of man you are." She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone, not even feeling a rush of anger. If anything, the calmness surprised me. Camille's threats were meaningless. It was all noise. I didn't have time to process that before another text came through. This one from Tyler, Andrea's ex. I felt my lip curl in disgust when I saw his name. "Hey man, can we talk? Man to man? Things aren't what they look like. Just need a minute of your time." I tossed my phone on the couch and let out a dry laugh. Noah, who had been half-heartedly scrolling through Instagram while we waited for the fallout, looked up. "What now?" "Tyler wants to talk man to man," I said, mimicking his message in a sarcastic tone. "Man to man. What's he gonna do, cry to you about his broken heart?" Noah shook his head, clearly already over it. "Tell him to take a hike." I grabbed my phone again, typing out a response before I even thought about it. "Tyler, you've been playing this game long enough. You're nothing but an opportunistic asshole who's been waiting for her to slip up. Don't act like you're the good guy here. Do us both a favor and stay out of it." I hit send and tossed the phone aside, not caring what he would say back. I had no interest in another round of Tyler's manipulative bullshit. If he wanted to talk, it was only because things were crumbling for him too. I wasn't about to make it easier. Noah was already back to his phone, scrolling through more screenshots, shaking his head in disbelief. "Check this out," he said, showing me a group chat from Andrea's friends. They were losing their shit, demanding answers, blaming her for the canceled wedding, speculating about what I had done. "Wow," I muttered. I didn't even have to do anything, and they're already tearing each other apart. Chelsea had been quiet for a while, but she finally spoke up, looking at her phone screen. Look at these comments on her latest post. She's telling everyone it was a temporary delay. Noah clicked his tongue. She's digging herself deeper. Her followers are calling bullshit. I leaned back, trying to soak in the moment. The reality was sinking in. Every single thing Andrea had told me, every lie she'd spun, was being exposed now. And I didn't have to lift a finger. I can't believe how quickly this is all falling apart, Chelsea said, shaking her head as she scrolled. Her whole world is coming undone. I told you, I muttered. All it takes is a little honesty. People are too dumb to keep up the act for long. The group chats kept rolling in. People were questioning Andrea's motives, saying they had seen the signs, wondering why she hadn't said something earlier. Some even started to realize what a joke Tyler's whole terminal illness story had been. It wasn't even the worst part, though. The worst part was seeing how many people had been complicit in it, letting Andrea keep playing the victim card while she manipulated everyone around her. But I was fine. I had no stake in their drama anymore. I sat back and watched as the chaos unfolded, somehow feeling calm, almost detached. All the lies were coming undone, and I didn't have to say a word. It was like a weight lifting off me, knowing that I wasn't the one scrambling to explain myself, to justify my actions. Andrea had done all the work for me. Doesn't it feel kind of good? Noah asked, his voice amused, but also a little relieved. Yeah, I said, not even thinking about it. I've got nothing to hide. She's the one who's been lying. We all watched as the storm raged on, knowing it was only going to get worse for Andrea and everyone around her. But for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid of the fallout. Let it burn. I wasn't going to get caught in it. I woke up to my phone buzzing like crazy. I had barely slept, but somehow, the second I checked my messages, I knew what was coming. Andrea had posted. It was a long one. Too long. A real masterclass in twisting the narrative. She painted herself as the one trying to hold everything together, claiming the wedding had been postponed because I had emotional instability. Her loyal, loving fiancé trying to stand by her man. The way she spun it, you'd think I was the one who had left her hanging, not the other way around. I ran a hand over my face and scrolled down. She had some paragraph about how she was doing what was best for both of us and taking time to heal. It was the same bullshit she'd been feeding me for months, only now she was writing it for her audience, and I had a front row seat to watch the whole thing fall apart. I was done playing the nice guy, though. I couldn't keep letting her write the story, even if it meant diving into the mess head first. I hit reply, not caring who saw it. I wasn't going to take this lying down. I went straight to the screenshots, her original text from the night before, where she told me she was staying with Tyler for closure, with the part where she called me mature for letting her do it. I attached both and hit send. The phone vibrated in my hand almost immediately. A flood of comments came in, some supportive, others snide, but it didn't matter. I was finally taking control of the narrative. Noah had been tracking everything too, watching the reactions pour in. Dude, it's like she set herself on fire and handed you the matches. I didn't smile, didn't laugh. I just stared at the comments. Some people were defending Andrea, but there were more than enough people calling her out. Her own friends were doubting her now, questioning why she'd lied in the first place. It was a domino effect, and once it started, there was no stopping it. Then, as I refreshed my feed, the next bomb dropped. Tyler's father, the respected doctor in our hometown, the guy who had a perfect reputation, posted something that made my stomach churn. He put up a statement, right there for everyone to see, calling out his own son. He publicly announced that Tyler had lied about having a terminal illness to try to win Andrea back. He said that Tyler had manipulated the situation and that it wasn't the first time. He even hinted that Tyler had been playing some kind of game with Andrea for years. For a moment, the world felt like it had frozen. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Tyler's whole story had been a damn lie, and now it was coming out for everyone to see. His father had just lit a match under everything Andrea had built, and it was spreading faster than I could keep up. The notifications started blowing up again. Texts, calls, more Instagram comments. Everyone was reacting. Everyone was sharing the truth now. Andrea's credibility had just shattered, and it wasn't my doing. It wasn't even Noah's or Chelsea's. It was all Tyler's mess, and it was so far beyond anyone's control now. I turned to Noah, who was watching me with wide eyes. This is it, man, he said, sounding almost breathless. Her whole world is about to fall apart. I couldn't respond. I didn't need to. My phone was buzzing nonstop now. The friends who'd been backing Andrea started pulling their support. I saw one friend post a story with a screenshot of the doctor's statement, tagging Andrea, asking, "Is this what you meant by closure?" And that was when I realized this wasn't just about me and Andrea anymore. It was bigger than that. It was about every lie she had ever told, every person she had ever manipulated. This was the unraveling, and I didn't have to do a damn thing. I stood up, pacing the room as I let everything hit me. I thought I'd feel something, I said, half to myself. But I don't. It's like watching a fire burn itself out. Are you kidding? Noah replied, his voice sharp with disbelief. Dude, you're gonna feel it. You're just not feeling it right now because you're too numb. Maybe. But the truth was, I didn't care about feeling anything anymore. I had no more guilt, no more confusion, no more emotional wrangling. Andrea could spin whatever story she wanted, but the truth was right there for everyone to see. I grabbed my phone again, scrolling through the comments. A few people were still trying to defend her, but they were getting drowned out. My phone was lighting up with texts from friends I hadn't spoken to in years, people I didn't even know were in the loop. The story had spread, and there was no going back now. The last thing I saw, as I set my phone down, was a new comment from Andrea's sister. She'd posted a story showing the message from her father about Tyler's lie and tagged Andrea. How much longer are we going to keep pretending, sis? And just like that, the floodgates opened. The truth had been set loose, and there was no way Andrea could stop it now. I looked at Noah and Chelsea. Neither of them said anything, but they didn't have to. We all knew the score. Everything was coming down, and I wasn't going to stop it. I was just going to watch it burn. By the time the sun set, Noah's apartment was buzzing with texts and notifications. I didn't care anymore. I hadn't even been paying attention to my phone for the last few hours. I was sitting on the couch, letting everything unfold like a bad reality show. Noah and Chelsea were in the kitchen, half-heartedly arguing about which pizza to order, but I wasn't really listening. I felt strangely detached, almost like I wasn't even in my own life anymore. The last of Andrea's lies had been exposed, and now it was just cleanup. I had nothing to do with it. That's when I heard the pounding. It started out slow, a few heavy knocks on the door, but then it escalated, shouting, banging. It sounded like a damn riot out there. I shot a glance at Noah, but he was already standing, his eyes sharp. "They're here," he muttered. I didn't move. I just leaned back into the couch, staring at the door like it wasn't even real, like it wasn't my life getting pounded on from the other side. The intercom buzzed before I could say anything. A voice screeched through it. "Open the door!" Now. It was Camille, Andrea's mom. "You coward, you better come out here and explain yourself." I didn't even flinch. Noah hit the button and spoke calmly into the intercom. "This is a private residence. You're not welcome here." "We have a right to see him," Camille shouted. "You ruined everything. This is your fault. You've damaged my daughter's life." "Is she really here?" I muttered under my breath, not bothering to look at Noah. "Yeah," Noah replied, his voice flat. He was used to this kind of mess, but even I could tell this was a new level. The banging on the door grew louder, now joined by other voices. Tyler, Andrea's dad, maybe a few more of her friends, all shouting, demanding answers. "You'll regret this. You'll regret this for the rest of your life." Andrea screamed through the door, her voice shaking with fury. It hit me like a slap, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt numb. Another buzz. This time, it was Tyler. His voice came through the intercom in a smoother tone, the kind that made my skin crawl. "Hey man, it's Tyler. Let's talk, okay? Man to man. Things aren't what they seem." Andrea needed emotional clarity. I was just helping her through it, you know. I looked at Noah, who was practically seething at the mention of Tyler's name. I didn't move. I didn't even open my mouth. I didn't need to explain myself to anyone. I'd already said what needed to be said. Noah picked up the intercom receiver. "Tyler, don't make me laugh. You can't even pretend you're a good guy anymore. You've been lying to everyone, and we're done listening." Tyler didn't respond right away, probably trying to smooth things over. But I didn't care what he said. I didn't care if he had an apology for me or an excuse for Andrea. It didn't matter anymore. Noah turned away from the intercom and looked at me. I'm calling security. The sound of pounding grew louder. I could feel it vibrating through the walls now, their desperation leaking through every knock, every scream. But I didn't feel a thing. Noah picked up his phone and made the call. He spoke briefly with security, explaining the situation, giving them the details. The buzzing stopped, followed by the muffled sound of footsteps retreating down the hall. I let out a long breath, staring blankly at the ceiling. I didn't even care that Andrea and her family had just made a scene outside. It felt surreal, like I wasn't even a part of it. "They're gone," Noah said, his voice still tight with tension. He collapsed onto the couch next to me. "But you realize they're not done, right?" "I don't care," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "They can't touch me anymore. I'm done." Noah didn't answer. He just looked at me for a long beat, his expression softening. "I get it. I really do, but this is just the beginning. They're not going to stop until they get what they want." I nodded, but it felt like I was hearing the words from someone else. It wasn't that I wasn't ready for the fight. It was just that I didn't have the energy for it anymore. I had nothing left to prove. If they wanted to keep dragging themselves through the mud, that was their choice. "I'm done," I repeated, my voice low but firm. Chelsea joined us a minute later, having overheard the whole thing. She was quiet at first, but then she gave me a tight smile. "You did what you needed to do." I nodded, but the words didn't feel like they meant anything. It was all a mess I hadn't asked for, and now I was just waiting for it to be over. I sat back again, letting the silence hang in the air between us. It was all happening outside my life now, out of my control. I was done, ready to move on, and I wasn't going to let them drag me back into it. Later that evening, as I sat in Noah's apartment, trying to let the mess of the day sink in, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was the country club where Andrea and I had booked our rehearsal dinner. I stared at the caller ID for a second before answering. I wasn't sure what kind of circus this would be, but I had a feeling I wasn't going to like it. "Hello," I said, trying to sound normal. "Good evening. Is this Mr.?" "Last name?" The voice on the other end asked, all business. "Yeah, that's me. Hi, I'm calling from Country Club. We have a bit of a situation. Your fiancée, Andrea, and her mother just showed up and are insisting we honor the reservation for the rehearsal dinner tomorrow night." I sat up straight. "What? No, the reservation was canceled. I already called about it. I understand, sir, but they're insisting it's still on. They're here right now, and they've been very persistent. They've even offered to pay in full for the dinner if we don't cancel." I could hear Andrea's mom in the background, raising her voice, probably trying to throw around her usual weight. My gut twisted. This was exactly the kind of thing I'd been expecting, her trying to bulldoze her way through even after everything had been canceled. "Okay, well," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I want you to refuse them. Firmly, it's been canceled, and I don't want any part of this." "I understand, sir," the voice on the other end said. "But there's one more issue. They're trying to use your card on file to pay for it, and it's flagged by our system for fraud." I felt a brief pang of disbelief. "What?" "Yeah," the voice continued. "When we tried to process it, the system flagged it, and we've received an alert. We'll need to verify the transaction, but it seems like it's not authorized." My first thought was that Andrea's mom was desperate enough to try anything, even after the whole situation had unraveled. I could already picture her swiping my old card and pretending everything was fine. "I don't want them to have access to anything related to this event," I said, my jaw tightening. "I'll authorize you to involve the police if necessary." "Understood, sir. We'll handle it from here. We'll make sure they're escorted off the property." I hung up the phone, my pulse quickening. I couldn't believe Camille was going this far. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised. She'd never played fair, and now she was showing just how far she'd go to try and salvage something that was already dead. I told Noah and Chelsea about the call. Noah looked at me, eyes wide with disbelief. "They tried to charge your card. After everything that's happened, what the hell is wrong with them?" "I don't know," I muttered. "It's like they think they can just push their way through it, pretend everything is still normal." "Ridiculous," Chelsea added, shaking her head. "It's like they're living in a parallel universe where everything is fine." We sat there for a minute, all of us letting that sink in. The absurdity of it hit us all at the same time. It wasn't just a breakdown of a relationship anymore. It was a full-on collapse of their entire delusion. And I didn't have to be part of it anymore. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. It was the country club. They'd managed to get Camille and Andrea off the premises. Apparently, once they were told about the fraud alert and the police involvement, they backed off. I couldn't help but feel a little satisfied, knowing they'd been escorted out. "They're gone," the voice on the phone said, sounding relieved. "Everything's handled. I just wanted to let you know." "Thanks," I said, hanging up without another word. I didn't know what was worse, the fact that Andrea's mom tried to use my card, or that they even thought they could make a scene like that. It was over, but it wasn't over for them yet. Noah grabbed the phone out of my hand and tossed it aside. "Man, this shit is crazy. I don't know how you're not losing it right now." I let out a long breath, rubbing my forehead. I don't know either, but I'm not. I've never been more ready for it to be over. Chelsea glanced at us both, her eyes softening. "Well, it's over for you. It's just starting for them." We all sank back into the couch. The tension in the air was gone now. In its place was this strange, almost hysterical relief. We weren't in the middle of a war anymore. We were just watching it burn down. Noah grabbed the pizza box from the table and opened it, offering me a slice. At least we got pizza. I mean, after all that, we deserved something. I grabbed a slice, feeling the tension in my shoulders finally start to ease. The whole thing had been ridiculous, but I couldn't help but laugh at how absurd it all was. "I swear," I said between bites, "if I ever hear the word wedding again, I'm going to lose it." Chelsea chuckled, grabbing a slice too. "Well, we're all lucky that wedding isn't happening." "Thank God," Noah said, laughing as he took a bite. And for the first time in days, I felt a little weight lift off me. The morning of what would have been my wedding day, I was miles away from everything. 3 hours, actually, hiking alone at a state park just outside of Houston. I had no plan, no agenda, just needed space. The air was still cool, the trail quiet except for the crunch of my boots on the gravel path and the occasional chirp of birds in the trees. It was one of those rare moments when the world felt wide open, and I could breathe without the weight of other people's expectations hanging over me. It felt good, better than it should have, honestly. I should have been stressed, pacing around in a tuxedo, rehearsing the vows I'd written, but instead, I was out here in the woods, completely free. The phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the silence. I didn't want to check it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was a text from Noah. "You seeing this shit? They're showing up at the venue like nothing happened." I frowned and checked the time. It was just past 11 a.m., the exact time the ceremony was supposed to start. I tapped open the group chat, and sure enough, there were pictures from the venue. 30 people, dressed to the nines, standing around in the lobby looking confused as hell. The venue staff had no idea what to do. Instead of the wedding, a corporate seminar had been booked in my spot. Noah had sent a few more messages, but I couldn't stomach reading them. I wasn't going back. I didn't care if Andrea had convinced people the wedding was still on. I had done the right thing. There was no going back from that. A minute later, another text came through, this time from Chelsea. "Your dad's here. He's with Camille and he's pissed. This is about to get ugly." I stopped walking for a second, leaning against a rock. My mind started racing. My dad. Tyler's dad. What was happening at the venue? I shoved the phone back into my pocket and kept walking. I didn't want to know, or at least, I thought I didn't. About an hour later, my phone buzzed again, and this time, I didn't fight it. I pulled over to a bench and opened up the text from Noah, followed by a video from the venue. It was like something out of a bad soap opera. There was Tyler's dad, standing in the middle of the venue, his face red with rage. He was yelling at Camille in front of the guests, his voice shaking with anger. "You're going to sit here and let her keep lying to everyone." Tyler's dad was shouting. "She's been lying to you, lying to all of us." Tyler's not sick. He never was. He was just playing everyone to get Andrea back. I could see Camille's face freeze, the color draining from it as she turned to the guests. Some of them looked genuinely shocked. Others just stared. Noah had texted right after, "It's all coming out. Tyler's been lying about the cancer thing this whole time. His dad's exposing him in front of everyone." I felt a sick sort of satisfaction in that. I hadn't known about the whole fake cancer story, but knowing that Tyler had been manipulating Andrea and everyone else like that made me almost laugh. Almost. The video kept rolling. Andrea's sister, one of the few people who still seemed loyal to her, was recording everything on her phone. The whole scene was turning into a disaster. The corporate seminar crew had tried to clear the room, but guests were still in their fancy wedding outfits, trying to figure out why they'd been shoved into a room with PowerPoint slides about marketing strategies instead of a wedding ceremony. The whole thing had gone completely sideways, and now it was unfolding in front of hundreds of people, all over social media. I felt no real emotion as I sat there in the woods, watching it all play out. I'd seen this coming for weeks. This was the inevitable ending to the mess Andrea had created. Her attempt to hold on to a fantasy had blown up in her face, and I wasn't going to be a part of it anymore. I stood up from the bench, shoving the phone back into my pocket. I didn't need to see anymore. I didn't need to know how much worse it was going to get for Andrea. It was over, for both of us. The next couple of hours were a blur as I continued my hike, eventually finding a spot with a perfect view of the valley below. I could have stayed out there all day, but I knew I had to get back to reality. The fallout wasn't going to stop anytime soon. I couldn't escape what had happened, but I didn't have to be there to watch it. I had made my choice. And now, it was time to finally walk away from the wreckage of a life I almost had. When I got back to Noah's apartment that evening, he and Chelsea were already there, sitting in the living room with a couple of beers, their phones still buzzing away. "I didn't think it could get worse," Noah said, not looking up as I walked in. "But then I saw the posts. People are losing their shit over there." "Yeah, I saw the videos," I replied, sitting down. "It's exactly what I expected." Chelsea looked at me, her eyes serious. "Are you okay?" I shrugged. "I'm fine. It's just weird, you know. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just done." Noah passed me a beer. "You should be proud of yourself, man. You dodged a bullet." I took the beer, but didn't say anything. He was right. I had dodged it. But what hit me harder than anything was that I was done. And that, in a strange way, felt like freedom. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of everything finally starting to settle. The mess wasn't mine anymore. It wasn't even Andrea's anymore. It was just over. 6 months had passed since the whole wedding mess. Funny how time works. At first it felt like the whole world was falling apart. But now, I couldn't remember why I ever let it get to me in the first place. I had a new apartment, small but mine. No more old wedding plans to stare at in the fridge. No more reminders of everything I was supposed to have. Instead, I'd built a life from scratch, a better life. Work was better too. I'd been hitting targets and even took on some extra responsibilities. My manager had noticed, but I didn't care about the praise. It felt good just to be doing something right for once. Like I had control over something. That was enough. I'd also joined a local outdoor club, more for the fresh air and quiet than anything else. Funny how something as simple as hiking could clear your head after a storm like the one I'd lived through. And that's where I met Tessa. Tessa was different. She was straightforward, emotionally stable. Everything Andrea wasn't. We met during one of the group hikes, and after the third or fourth time, we ran into each other. We started talking. Real talking, not the passive-aggressive games or the half-truths I'd been used to. Tessa didn't play games. When she said something, it was because she meant it. I didn't realize how much I'd needed that until I started feeling comfortable around her. Her honesty made me want to be better. It was easy to fall for someone like that. And I did, fast. We were sitting on a bench at the trailhead a few weeks ago, just talking about our plans for the summer, when I realized how much had changed. This was real. The comfort, the simple pleasure of just being with someone who didn't want to break you down, didn't want to control you. It was nothing like the chaos I'd spent so long tangled up in. Meanwhile, the messes I left behind were, well, they weren't as pretty as my life now. Brooke and Tyler's relationship had crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. They were both in the middle of public social media meltdowns, fighting over everything from money to who had the right to tell their version of the story. They looked like a pair of dumpster fires, each one trying to get the last word in before everything collapsed. No one even cared about Tyler's fake cancer story anymore. It was just another detail in the long list of things they'd both lied about. Their finances were shot, and they were both scrambling to salvage any shred of credibility they had left. As for Camille and her husband, they were in the middle of their own messy divorce. Turns out, Camille had been playing a game all along too, and now she had to deal with the fallout of her own actions. It was only a matter of time before their family completely fell apart. Tyler had been cut off by his own family, no one willing to deal with the wreckage he had caused anymore. He was on his own now, sinking fast. In the midst of it all, I found myself just floating, detached. It was like I was no longer part of their chaos. I didn't even feel bad about it anymore. I had my own peace now, my own routine, and my own people. I remembered Andrea's message, the one that started everything, the text about her closure with Tyler. At the time, it had felt like a punch to the gut. I'd reread it 100 times, wondering what I'd done wrong, why I wasn't enough. But now, looking back, I realized it wasn't about me. It was about her needing someone to fix her, to save her from whatever broken thing she thought she was. She wasn't ready to be with me. She wasn't ready to be anyone's fiancé. She was too wrapped up in herself to ever see me as anything more than a crutch. That text, it wasn't a warning shot. It was a gift. That moment set me free, even though I couldn't see it at the time. It gave me the chance to walk away from all of her chaos and into something better. And maybe that's the part I didn't understand at first, that I'd dodged more than a wedding. I'd dodged a life that wasn't mine, a future that would have crushed me under the weight of her unresolved baggage. "Hey, you good?" Tessa's voice snapped me back to the present, and I realized I'd been staring out the window for too long. I smiled at her, leaning back on the couch. "Yeah, I'm great." "You sure?" she asked, her head tilting slightly. "I'm sure," I said, knowing that I wasn't just saying it for her benefit. I was saying it for me, too. Best decision I ever made. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I truly believed it. It was the 6-month mark, exactly half a year since the wedding was supposed to happen. I stood on my small balcony, flipping burgers on the grill, the city stretched out in front of me. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, and the hum of the city felt distant, like I wasn't part of it, but at the same time, I was. It was peaceful, simple. Tessa was sitting at the table nearby, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, laughing at something. "You know, I've never been happier to date someone who dodged a wedding like Neo dodging bullets." Nay, I couldn't help but laugh, the sound genuine. "I'm glad you're so supportive." She raised an eyebrow. "I mean it? You were about to make a huge mistake. I'd have had to buy you a plane ticket to somewhere really far away, just to get you to stop feeling sorry for yourself." I turned the burgers, letting the sizzle fill the air. The smell of grilled meat mixed with the sharp scent of fresh herbs from the plants on the railing. Everything felt right, and I hadn't realized how much I needed this quiet, this calm. As I watched the sunset, my mind drifted back to all those months, the games Andrea had played, the constant tension that hung between us like a thick fog. The way she gaslit me, making me doubt myself, question everything, always leaving me just enough hope to cling to, even when things felt off. How many times had I thought it was just a rough patch? How many times had I given in to the idea that love meant suffering through her bullshit? It was like I had been drowning, but I couldn't see the water until I finally got out. I'd been so caught up in trying to fix something that was broken from the start that I didn't realize I was losing myself. Losing my trust, my peace of mind, my sense of who I was. She had me thinking I was the problem, and now I could breathe. Every day felt like a new chapter, but not in the way I thought it would. The person I was 6 months ago, the one who was about to stand at the altar, desperate to make things work, was gone. I didn't recognize him. And for the first time, I realized that was a good thing. Tessa stood up and walked over, picking at a plate of fries I had set out earlier. "You're thinking about her, aren't you?" she asked, her voice soft, but sharp enough to break through the quiet. "Yeah," I said, flipping the burgers again. "I guess it's hard not to, on a day like today." She smiled, leaning against the railing beside me. "Well, I think it's obvious now. You didn't lose a fiancé. You gained a life." I looked at her, letting her words sink in. "I guess you're right," I said, the weight of it hitting me all at once. I didn't lose anything. I gained everything. The last of the sun's light was slipping away, and I felt something settle in me. It was peace. It was freedom. I wasn't looking back anymore, not with regret. The wedding never happened, but the life I had now, that was something worth living for. I took a deep breath, smiling as I turned the last of the burgers. This is the best day I never had.